All right, welcome to part 5. We're going to go over questions 41 through 50 on this part. Okay, so for question 41, we'll start with there, and we're kind of working with conditional statements and converses, contrapositives, and inverse and stuff like that. So 41 says, if you live in Rexburg, then you like snow. A contrapositive, remember, is we switch the two and negate both of them. So that's what we're looking for. If you do not like snow, good so far, then you do not live in Rexburg. Actually, that sounds about right. So I just want to verify that nothing else sounds wrong. But then we switch the two propositions and we negated both of them. That's good. If you like snow, okay, well, first off, we switched it, but we didn't negate the first one. If you do not live in Rexburg, okay, well, you're just negating the first one. And if you do not live in Rexburg, okay, so we didn't even have to get past that one. So A is the correct answer. Number 42. Which statement below is logically equivalent to, if I pass this test, then I will celebrate? Okay? So we have, if I don't celebrate, then I didn't pass this test. And so once again, right there, we have what's called the contrapositive. And if you remember, contrapositives are logically equivalent. So I can say that one would be the answer. If I don't pass the test, then I won't celebrate. Inverses aren't logically equivalent, so I can't do that one. If I pass this test, then I won't celebrate. Well, obviously that's not, because you can't negate something in one proposition or the other and still have it be logically equivalent. If I celebrate, then I will pass the test. And converses are not logically equivalent, and that's something we constantly remember. You can't just take a converse and say that's logically equivalent. So A is my correct answer on that one. Let's go to 43. Let the statement P be, the state of Idaho eliminates the sales tax on food, and the statement Q, the lower income residents who spend a larger portion of their income on food will benefit. We want to choose a column in A, B, C, or D that is the correct truth table for this conditional. Okay, so if P, then Q. Okay? So one thing we want to look at is, so this is true, true. So the state of Idaho eliminates the sales tax on food. So if the state of Idaho eliminates the sales tax on food, then the lower income residents who spend a larger portion of their income food will benefit. Okay, and that would also be true. So if both are true, then that's true. And so all of those up to that point would also be true. So I'm just going to put check marks there. That is correct. Okay. Well, let's look at the next one. If the state of Idaho eliminates the sales tax on food, then it's false that and that one is false. So those aren't okay. So we can actually eliminate A and B on this case, and C and D would be correct. If the state doesn't eliminate the sales tax on food, then the lower income residents who spend a large portion will benefit. And that one is also true. If P is false, then Q could also be true. And so that one's true. So we know that C is the correct answer. Number 44. If of the 45 theater performances that a critic reviewed, 23 were comedies. She gave favorable reviews to 8 of the comedies and unfavorable reviews to 12 of the non-comedies. How many non-comedies received favorable reviews? Let's see. So NC stands for non-comedies. F stands for favorable reviews. Okay. Let's see. She gave 8 favorable reviews to the comedies. So 8 favorable reviews. So I'm going to kind of put the 8 over here. That's going to put that in there. Remember, we have 45 performances, so the whole set will be 45 when we're done. Okay. NC represents non-comedy. She gave 8 reviews. She gave favorable reviews to 8 of the comedies. Okay, so remember, this is the comedies over here. This is favorable. Unfavorable reviews to 12 of the non-comedies. Okay, so that would go over here. So non-comedy, and 12 got non-favorable reviews. Figure out how many both by looking at the overage of the redundancy. Okay, so one thing was we know that there were 23 comedies. Okay, so what we want to do is we want to figure out exactly, so non-comedies, everything on the outside will be 23. Well, we know that this is 8, okay, and we don't know what those two are, so we're still missing a piece of information. However, we have a 12, and if there's 23 that were comedies, how many were non-comedies? And we can find that by going 45 minus 23, which would give us 22. Therefore, if 12 of those received non-favorable, then 10 of those received favorable, and that were non-comedies, okay? And so then if we have a 10 and an 8 out here, then that's 18. So 23 minus 18 would give us 5. So I'll put a 5 out here. And so then if you add up all those, 12 plus 10 is 22 plus 8. 22 plus 8 is 30. Oh, sorry, I made a mistake over here. That should be a 15. Because the 10 is not included as we look at the non-comedies, because those are both of those. Okay, so that makes sense. So 15 goes up there. So what we want to do is, because if I add those up, now I get 45. Okay. The question is, how many of the non-comedies received favorable reviews? And so these are non-comedies, and receive favorable review is 10 would be the correct answer. So I'd come up here and circle 10, and we'll move on to the next question. The following Venn diagram describes the type of cookies in a bakery. Use it to determine how many cookies have neither chocolate chips nor walnuts. Well, in this case, this is actually, it's pretty easy because you can tell that if it contains neither of them, then it's the one that's neither circled. So it's that one way out here. So that 7 is going to be my answer for those that are not chocolate chipped and not walnuts. Which of the following is a valid argument? Okay. So our premise, all fish swim, blue whales swim, therefore blue whales are fish. Okay. Well, not necessarily. Blue whales are mammals. You can have someone swim that's all swim fish, but just because someone else swims doesn't necessarily make that true. So that one's false. In fact, whales are blue. They say blue whales are mammals. All dogs bark. My parakeet barks. Therefore, my parakeet is a dog. Okay, and once again, that's not a valid argument. All cars have engines. A train has an engine. Therefore, a car is a train. That one's not a valid argument either. Okay? All fish swim. Sharks are fish. Now notice the direction, okay? Sharks are fish, and therefore all fish swim, therefore sharks swim. And that one actually works because of the direction you're going in. Okay? All right, 47, true or false. It is impossible to have a sound argument. It is impossible to have a sound argument that is not valid. So I have a sound argument and it's not valid, and that's impossible. I could have a sound argument that is not valid, but it's impossible to have. So that one's true. Okay? So as you look at that, so it's impossible. If I have a good sound argument, then it should be valid. Okay? And if it's not, then your argument is probably what's not set up properly. All right, decide the following argument is inductive or deductive. 23 plus 31 is 54, 37 plus 23 is 60, 23 plus 41 is 64, therefore the sum of two prime numbers is even. And we actually did this one, and that's when you use some specific examples and you make a general conclusion, we call that inductive. All right, 48. And if my students live in apartments, then they get B's in school. My students do not get B's in school, so our conclusion is, therefore, they do not live in apartments. Okay? So this one is what type of example? So, this argument, if my students live in apartments, then they get B's in school. My students do not get B's in school, therefore they do not live in apartments. And this one is kind of going to denying that consequent, the conclusion. And so that would be the answer. Notice because we are negating the conclusion. Okay, affirming the hypothesis or the antecedent, okay, would be saying the premise would be if my students do live in apartments. So that would be that one. Affirming the consequent, say my students do get B's in school. I didn't say that. Denying my students do not live in apartments, the antecedent, then that would be a B. But we're kind of saying my students do not. So that's why we have that conclusion there. All right, 50. Premise. So we're going to see, is this argument can be valid and sound, valid but unsound, invalid, or logically invalid. If Martha studies well for her exam, then she will pass her exam. Martha does not study well for her exam. Martha will not pass her exam. Okay? Now, so what we're doing is we're just taking denying the antecedent, the hypothesis, okay, that she didn't study well for her exam, and coming to an invalid conclusion, because you can't just take that, so that one doesn't work. So it's not valid, it's invalid. And remember, it is impossible to have a sound argument that's not valid. Anyway, so if you have any further questions about these, that's exam 2, and good luck as you prepare for taking it.